There's a flow to life, a rhythm that's constantly shifting like tides. You don't need to put that pressure on yourself to produce ideas at every second. Just as the ocean ebbs and flows, so too your creativity. Some days the tide is high, other days the shore is calm and still. It's never going to be perfect, and that's exactly why it's essential to build a structure for yourself. Something to carry you through those low tides. So when the waves of creativity subside, you're not left stranded. Having a routine doesn't stifle creativity, it gives it a place to grow, even when you feel empty. We're all familiar with the reality that some days we feel on top of the world and other days not so much. Creativity is no different. Each of us has a rhythm for creating, and understanding your own frequency is the key. You've been here long enough to see the patterns. Notice how you work throughout the year, monthly, seasonally. There's a natural ebb and flow to your energy, and once you recognize it, you can use it to your advantage. Plan your creative work around those highs and give yourself grace during the lows. Because artists aren't machines. We're not built for constant production. We need rest, real rest. So schedule that yearly downtime like everyone else. If you know that seasonal depression comes knocking at the same time every year, why fight it? Why try to push through a time when you know creativity won't come easy? The world doesn't demand you create during your hardest days, so why should you? What do you do when you're sick, stressed, or angry? What about when life just gets in the way? You need a plan, an effective one, because without one, you'll be convinced that you're battling this mysterious thing called art block, when the truth is you're just unprepared. Life happens. Sometimes it sweeps you up, sometimes it lays you flat. But with a plan in place, you can keep moving forward, even when things get rough. Without that structure, every obstacle feels like a wall. In my opinion, art block doesn't exist. It's not some ghost that haunts you. No. The real enemy is the flood of too many ideas, too many thoughts, all at once, drowning out clarity. We think we're blocked when really our minds are just overwhelmed. Art block is the person, not an invisible feeling that visits us out of the blue. We create it, we invite it in by not managing our thoughts and ideas. Consider this: artists who create from observation, plein air painters, still life artists, portrait and figurative artists. They don't talk about art block much, now do they? Their work begins with the world right in front of them. They don't have to dream up a new concept from thin air. All they have to do is open their eyes. They don't have to fight for ideas because the world offers them up freely. When those creative juices are flowing, it's a beautiful thing. But relying on that creative spark alone, it's unreliable. Our emotions fluctuate, but creating needs to be something you can tap into at any moment. The goal is to make it effortless, messy, and fluid. Ask yourself, what's the simplest thing you could create right now? Often it's something from observation. Most artists who struggle with art block don't have a daily practice. They might avoid keeping a sketchbook, which is fine. It's a personal choice. But a sketchbook is more than a place for perfect work. It's a journal, a container for your thoughts and ideas. It's a place for your creative clutter, where no one else's opinion matters. It's a place for therapy, in the simplest, smallest form. Yet somewhere along the line, sketchbooks have become these over-curated portfolios. People are putting too much weight on what a sketchbook should be, but it was never meant to be a place for perfection. It's a space for messy, unfinished ideas, for experiments, and rough sketches. When I see a sketchbook tour full of polished, rendered work, I think about how many young artists feel pressured because of it. They think their sketchbook has to look like that too, so they don't even start until they feel ready. Sketchbooks were once diaries for artists, but now they've become portfolios in disguise. So many of us feel like our work isn't worth sharing unless it's flawless. But who said that? Why can't a rough sketch or a doodle be shared? We've put ourselves in this cage and it's holding us back. More artists need to be open about what a real sketchbook looks like. We need to create just for the joy of creating, not to impress anyone. That's why I've decided to show my own sketchbooks here. I want to be a part of the shift to remind us all that sketchbooks aren't meant to be perfect. They're for exploring, for trying, for playing. Perfectionism leads to analysis paralysis, which is what creates the so-called art block. You start thinking every piece has to be a masterpiece, and that thought alone is enough to make you stop altogether. The goal isn't to create perfect work, it's just to create, period. Art block is a person, not some invisible force that visits us out of nowhere. We are the ones holding ourselves back. So let go, make it simple, make it fun. The world is right in front of you, and all you have to do is create. And as I sit on all of this that I've said, I realized that this also applies to us as people, as artists creating content, to give ourselves more freedom to just be and not be plagued by perfectionism, by sticking to a regime, a construct, a mold. Because as artists, it's easier for us to bend the rules. Also, never be afraid to go against what's already working, because in doing this, you can pioneer what more artists need to see.